Well, good afternoon. Whoa, 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 whoa. Good afternoon. Come on in, come on in. One all, come on in. We are doing Power Hour because it's July 4th, and today is all about freedom. So happy July 4th, everybody. Yeah. Here we go. The way that this works is you guys call the questions out. I'm going to take one question per minute, whatever it is up there, and discuss away. I'll start off. On 11/20/2022, Brian Colbert was alleged to have Googled searched or was searching for K-bar knife due to what Bill Thompson told us the other day, right? Here's the press conference from 11/20/2022. And Chief Fry says this is the following.
Today, we want to clarify what we know and where we're at in this investigation. Our primary goal is public safety and to get a completion of this case and bring someone to justice. We continue to dedicate all the resources to this investigation. We've had 646 tips received, and all will be processed, vetted, investigated, and cleared. We've done over 90 interviews received, and all will be processed, vetted, investigated, and cleared. We've done over 90 interviews in this case so far, and the Moscow Police Department is utilizing the assistance from the Idaho State Police, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Latah County Sheriff's Office. The personnel that has been assigned to this from the Moscow Police Department is 4 detectives, 24 officers, and 5 support staff. Federal Bureau of Investigators, we have 22 investigators in Moscow, 20 additional are assigned and located in the Treasure Valley, Salt Lake City, Utah, and West Virginia. We have 2 behavior analysis individuals from the Federal Bureau of Investigation. For the Idaho State Police, we have 20 investigators, a public information officer, ISP forensic services, and a crime scene team. We have 15 uniformed troopers to assist our community to help provide the additional resources for our patrols. Detectives are looking to develop any content that would help us in this event. Anyone who has observed any notable behavior or has any video surveillance or can provide relevant information about these murders, please call our tip line at 208-883-7180. Or you can email the tip line and that is .id. I'll give you some additional information.
Roger Lanier.
Good afternoon. My name is Roger Lanier. I'm a captain over the Operations Division for the Moscow Police Department. My last name is spelled Lanier.
Cheers.
I just want to first state that this tragic murder has shaken the community. It's been very hard for members of the community, and it's been equally.
Okay.
We will continue to put all of our resources. Here's what we've determined so far.
Okay.
On the evening of November 12th, Kaylee Gonsalves and Madison Mulligan were at a local bar and were later at a food truck in downtown Moscow. They arrived home at approximately 1:45 a.m. on the morning of November 13th. Ethan Chapin and Xana Kernodle were at the Sigma Chi house before also arriving home at approximately 1:45 a.m. 2 surviving roommates were also out in the community, and they returned home at approximately 1 a.m. and did not wake up until later that morning. On the morning of November 13th.
See how vague he was by to say that? So they arrived at 1 a.m. Ethan and Xana, 1:45. Not true. Okay.
at 11:58 a.m., a 911 call was placed to the Whitcomb Dispatch Center reporting an unconscious person. The call originated from inside the residence and was made from the phone of one of the surviving roommates. Moscow Police Department officers responded and located 4 victims, 2 on the 2nd floor and 2 on the 3rd floor. The Latah County coroners conducted autopsies, and detectives have been provided with the results
Power Hour 2.
of those autopsies.
2
We
6.
know that the autopsies confirmed the identity of the 4 victims, determined the cause and manner of death as homicide by stabbing, and determined that it was likely all 4 victims were asleep during the attack. Some of the victims had defensive wounds, and each victim was stabbed multiple times. There was no sign of sexual assault. Investigators have determined 2 areas of interest within the city and have provided maps which are on our Facebook page and on our website. And these are areas that they have canvassed for.
So stabbing. So for example, in the Delphi case, they never made that known.
Additional surveillance video and tips, and have contacted several residents in the areas. The areas are generally south of Taylor Avenue to Palouse River Drive
South,
and west of Highway 95.
west.
Detectives have also canvassed several other neighborhoods looking for evidence, looking for additional surveillance video, and contacting residents and speaking to them to see if they may have heard or seen something.
Now, focus in on that one right there. That one never stuck out to me until last night, 2 o'clock in the morning, when I couldn't go to sleep. And I was like, I need to listen to this one more time.
Several other neighborhoods looking for residents and maps, which are on our Facebook page and on our website. And these are areas that they have canvassed for additional surveillance video and tips, and have contacted several residents in the areas. The areas are generally south of Taylor Avenue,
So anybody with a Ring camera, okay?
Palouse River Drive, and west of Highway 95. Detectives have also canvassed several other neighborhoods looking for evidence, looking for additional surveillance video.
Right there, okay. Other neighborhoods. Pullman. Other neighborhoods.
And contacting residents and speaking to them to see if they may have heard or seen something. I want to address several areas of speculation,
Yes.
conjecture, and misinformation that has circulated on
4.
social media platforms and otherwise. We do not believe the following individuals are involved in this crime: the 2 surviving roommates, a male seen at the grub truck food vendor downtown, specifically wearing a white hoodie, a private party who provided rides home to Kaylee and Madison in the early morning hour of November 13th. Additionally, the identity of the 911 caller and the 911 call have not been released, so any information out there is speculation about that.
Yes.
Investigators are aware that multiple phone calls from Madison and Kaylee's phone were made to a male subject. Any online
A male subject. They wouldn't even clear Jack D yet. They wouldn't even clear Jack D yet. Poor dude, man.
Online reports stating that the victims had been tied and gagged are not accurate. Detectives seized the contents of 3 dumpsters on King Road and searched those dumpsters in an effort to find additional evidence, but nothing of note was discovered. Early in the investigation, local businesses were canvassed.
So Linda Lane dumpster. Remember, like everyone's talking about the dumpster? Dude, they took Linda Lane dumpster. They would have had Linda Lane footage. Linda Lane had a dumpster. Woo, this is 5. The only way you could clear anybody is how? How could you clear anybody? DNA, baby. So you're going to take their DNA, give me your phones, give me your DNA, and we're going to submit these to what? When did the profile come back that they had a hit on the sheath? Who can answer that one? I know if Annie's in here, she can. Five and 6, take a sip. What do we got? Cheers. 5 and 6. Cheers. And 11:20 is when they transported. When they put it into CODIS, they saw that it didn't get a hit there, right? But let's be honest, the only way that you could like think that somebody didn't have anything to do with this case is alibi, phone, DNA.
In an effort to see if any fixed blade type knives may have recently been purchased.
There we go. There it is.
And currently, there are no suspects in custody. Local businesses were canvassed in an effort to see if any fixed blade type knives may have recently been purchased. And currently, there are no suspects in custody, and we have not located a weapon. I want to assure you that every investigator involved will continue to put all.
Okay, so fixed blade. What are your options to Google? Okay, your options to Google. Like, I just want to try it because I was doing it back then. I was like, fixed blade. I mean, okay, so fixed blade definition. See if I did like that. A fixed blade is a type of knife where the blade is permanently attached to the handle and does not fold or retract. Unlike folding knives, fixed blade knives have a continuous piece of metal, the blade and tang, that extend into the handle, offering greater strength and durability. They are typically stored and carried in a sheath. Google tells you sheath. Okay. They are typically stored and carried in a sheath to protect the sharp blade. Tang tang. What about your taint? What about your ding ding? So if you're watching this and you're like all of us were doing, fucking about to show you guys my Scott Roeder episode. Scott Roeder came with like all these knives. I was like, damn. I was like, okay, so wow. So then it breaks it down. Like, I mean, I don't know how awesome AI was back then, but my phone just goes off with AI. How about this? Types of fixed blades. Images. Fixed blade knives are categorized by their purpose, with some of the most common types including hunting, survival, tactical, and bushcraft knives. Other types include boot knives, fillet knives, throwing knives, and even utility or everyday carry. So this isn't gonna hit nowhere near as hard as if they wouldn't have given the. So this is what they say. You don't, if you're an investigator, they shouldn't have been doing this. We were asking police officers back in the beginning, and they're like, if you notice who's giving the press conferences, it's not the detectives, because they don't want to be doing it. It's the people that want to be political and, hey, I have to answer to people and blah, blah. So if you would have never done this and said any of this on how the victims were unalived, then somebody Googling that on that day, so I'm just going over what Bill Thompson was saying in his little, these are the facts.
All of their resources and all of our partner agencies' resources.
So my question then would be, is if Bill Thompson rattles off all of these things as that these are what the facts are, and you say that you're pleading guilty to stuff that aren't the facts down the road, because you got all this discovery and you're going to take all your time now to put this all together to show a manifest of injustice and that there's a completely different story here, and thereby it doesn't matter that I waived all my appeals and blah, because the manifest of unjust is enough to tell a plea deal to piss off. Okay. But at the end of the day, this person named Brian Colbert, said that he went into a home, right? And that he stabbed and killed every single victim. Why the fuck would you say that if you didn't do it? Maybe Brian Colbert didn't want to be known as somebody that employed tweakers and meth heads that to help him carry out his crime, and he was like, that'll take away from my notoriety of being this amazing serial killer, and that's not what I want. I'd rather say that I did it all and that I was on my way to be a serial killer, and I want you guys to all study me because I'm amazing. And then Ramslin's over there like, yeah, me, pick me. Weird shit.
Into continuing this investigation. We do appreciate the community's support. We understand how stressful it is, and we will continue to.
Talk about just a line of shit right there. The community wasn't supporting them. The community was like, what the fuck is going on? Okay. So, all right. Write in chat right there. You have an opinion, you have a question, make it known so I can highlight it. Or let's just go to Miss Potts's manifest over here. Manifesto. Where is it? Miss Potts. Piss Potts. I saw this and I was like, oh God, here we go. Piss Potts for the win. Questions for Brian Colbert. Number one, it's crazy to me that this is so much doubt. You think this is crazy? The Chris Watts case. That's where this is headed. Buckle up some of these questions many won't like. Oh, I love a good question. That's how you have to treat it. Okay. So we're going to use, we got this ready over here. Okay. Audience, here we go. 1, 2, 3, ready? Whoop. There we'll highlight that. Absolutely, I agree with you. He said he's guilty. He said he premeditated it. He did it. He is guilty. Right? Well, there's two parts to it. Is the state didn't prove it, but guess what? He's still saying, I admit it, I did it, right? Then I got to think about my boy Dan Moore, who was like, okay, yeah, I did it. Motherfucker didn't kill nobody. Okay? Ask Dan Moore why the fuck he said what he said. They're going to go to my family. Dan Moore said he did it. He didn't do it, right? Or people could out there be like, yeah, he did do it. Dan Moore's rights were violated. Dan Moore rights were violated, and the judge did the right thing and tossed the confession because it was obtained by the district judge, said it was not only a violation of his Miranda, but it was also coerced. Okay, so here we go. Number 1, why didn't you immediately fire Ann Taylor when she came to you with this horrible plea offer? Why would you ever agree to plead guilty to a crime you didn't commit, as many still believe now that you've taken a plea? There we go. Can we start? We started. That's number 1. What's up, Meg? Girl, what's you doing, baby? Happy 4th of July, everybody. We're talking about our freedom, man. All I care about is our rights. I have a feeling like Brian didn't give a fuck about our rights, and he's fighting for something else. And we're over here fighting for our rights. And Brian was like, I didn't give a fuck about our rights, man. I'm not going down as being not the only one that did this. I want it all by myself. Okay, number 2. I agree with that. He didn't have a chance the way that Hitler was rolling the die, right? Number 2, many people believe, again, these are questions for Brian Kober. Number 2, many people believe you are still innocent after accepting this plea. Are you actually innocent? Question mark. And if so, why did you admit guilt to such an awful, heinous fucking crime? What made you believe it's in your best interest to plead guilty instead of going to trial? Woo! You must live in Idaho here. Can we talk about our rights being violated because of COVID? Kate agrees there. She says, Hitler didn't give him a chance. And you want to know what I think is going to be a great interview for that? Cyree. I got my little book over here that I've been working on. That's going to be one of the best interviews. Number 3. Dear Brian Kober, we know through a statement from Jason LeBaire, your attorney in Pennsylvania, that you were eager to be exonerated. And you assumed, quote unquote, law enforcement had your cell phone data. What changed from then to the plea deal? But if you think about it, to exonerate yourself, you'd have to be convicted. So is this part of the plan? Mary, I love you. Yes. Okay, next. Mitch Girl says, I believe he pled guilty so that his parents wouldn't have to testify at trial, re their phone conversation. It's hearsay. It's in terms of like a phone conversation? What they heard? Nope. Hitler, overrule. Go ahead, continue. They haven't even been, they weren't even interviewed. They weren't even subpoenaed by the state yet. Or were they? Maybe that's what happened in the past couple weeks. The parents got subpoenaed by the state. You know? Okay, number 4. Now that you've pled guilty, have you cooperated with authorities on where to locate the knives or knife you used in the commission of the crimes, as well as the clothing that you wore? What about the other men's blood and hairs found at the scene that you were excluded from? Did you act alone, or were others with you? Was this a meth deal gone wrong? If others were with you, did you assist the defense or authorities in identifying those people so they may also be held accountable? Number 5. The state alleged at the plea hearing you were seen leaving the house carrying a container, and you've agreed in court that that is true. So what was in the fucking container? What did you take? Now, how about Dateline drug in to their absolute bullshit? Because they drug in one of our YouTube creators who was doing amazing 3D modeling work. They sought her out, Dateline sought her out, and asked her to be part of the Dateline episode where the leak happened. Okay, so I want to show you guys this. I was like, hot damn, I wondered where she went. Okay. I love her work. And I'm like, fucking Dateline dragging people in on this shit. Leave it to Dateline. You guys know what I'm talking about? Have you guys seen it yet? Have you guys seen it? Have you guys seen it? It's like, there we go. Okay. I'm going to share this.
See that the DoorDash time of 3:59 happens after Koberger has left the neighborhood. Include a lot of information.
Okay.
Hi guys, since Brian Koberger pled guilty today, I feel like we released this full illustration of the Idaho4 crimes, showing Koberger's movements. It's put together by evidence given to me by media companies like Netflix and others, including more recently Dateline, who hired me to do their 3D modeling for their project. I'm going to include a lot of information into this episode where you can see exactly what took place from moment to moment. Let's get started.
Again, I support her work. Okay. She probably has no idea how shit like this even works, but I support her work. But listen, Dateline went and got one of our homies, one of our YouTube homies, and they're like, get over here. Get over here. Finish him. Hey, do you want to make our 3D models for our Dateline leak episode where we're going to expose that we have Brian Culver's phone data and other stuff? Wait till you guys see this bombshell that gets dropped here. Okay. Again, if you have not liked, subscribed, go check it out. Here we go.
In this illustration, we're going to start at 3:30 a.m. At this time, everyone is asleep except for Xana. Looking inside the home, we can see
That is not true. Okay. 3:30, everyone is asleep except Xana. That's the narrative. Well, we know that's not true, but it doesn't change the work of the 3D model. Let's keep it in line here. It's all about the 3D model. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's really well done. All of it. Okay.
see where everybody was. Starting at the 3rd floor, we can see where Maddie and Kaylee were sleeping. Maddie was sleeping on the edge of the bed, while Kaylee was sleeping near the wall. As we go out and drop down to the 2nd floor, we can see Dylan's room directly under Maddie's room. Continuing across the living room, we can see Dylan's room directly under Maddie's room. Continuing across the living room onto the other side of the home, we sees Anna's room. She's sitting in bed scrolling on her phone while Ethan sleeps next to her. Minutes ago, she had just finished ordering DoorDash and has all the lights on while she waits. The last roommate to mention is Beth, whose room is on
Minutes
the
ago. So she's saying she just ordered DoorDash minutes before 3:30. And she calls her Beth. I love it.
first floor, directly below the living room. As most of them all sleep, Koberger pulled into the neighborhood for the first time this night at precisely 3:30 a.m. We know this due to a home security camera that captures the intersection and records the coming and going of anybody that enters that neighborhood. As we continue, Koberger drives past the home and notices that all the lights on the second floor are still on. He drives on and loops around the apartment complex building. Because of the home security timestamp, we're able to know how long it took to drive this path.
This is awesome.
On his first pass, it took him 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
That's what I've said.
And this is him leaving on the first pass.
Right there. Hang on. Woo. Okay. You guys listen to that. 2 minutes and 38 seconds. It's really important.
Now let's look at his next 2 passes and record the times. This is pass 2 of him entering and leaving. And now this is pass 3 of him entering and leaving. When we do the math, we can see how long he took each pass. The last 2 passes were normal without any...
Boom. Okay. Remember how I told you guys that first loop around was an extra like 45 seconds? And I was like, what's going on? That seems like is someone trying to get... Are you stopping to let somebody out? You know, like what's going on?
He's stopping. But on his first pass, he took an additional 42 seconds to creep by the house, or even stop for a time to stare into the windows with the lights on. All this information has been coming from camera A. But there is a second camera located behind the apartment complex building, and we're going to call that camera B located
here, hold on.
There's a second camera located behind the apartment complex building.
Right there. So see the red portion right here? That's saying that's the area that it covers. But it's all in that red portion right there. Okay, now we're gonna go to this next.
And we're going to call that camera B located here.
And that's Linda Lane. That's that portion.
This camera allows us to see how long it took to get from point A to point B, and between the 3 security cameras' data, it took between 35 and 37 seconds. What this means is you didn't stop or park somewhere or go into a different direction. He simply drove straight from point A to point B at regular speed. These times help us understand the DoorDash delivery window. According to court documents, 2 times are noted. One is 3:59 a.m. and the other is 4 a.m. Bringing back our passage chart, we can see that the DoorDash time of 3:59 happens after Koberger has left the neighborhood and before he returns for his last pass at 4:04. It is possible that the DoorDash driver saw Koberger as he was parking his car, because a timestamp of 3:59 could be reflected when he took the photo of the food at the front door instead of the time he arrived.
It's also possible that the third swipe around, unless they can prove that another car came. I'm surprised that she doesn't have it. If she did it with Dateline, they should have that car coming during that time. So, like, there should be no guessing here. If you have 11112, like what Dateline has, if they have 1112, and this is who did all this for Dateline, there should be no guessing here. You would know when the DoorDash driver comes. But it seems like there's a reason that information can't be put out. We just want the truth, man. No, I mean, what's the truth? He pleaded guilty. Put out what the fuck you have. Let's see the fucking DoorDash driver entering. Let's see what time the DoorDash driver comes. Let's see what time the DoorDash driver leaves. Let's see if you're able to tell that it's the same vehicle that came and left. Notice how she's not using any of the Linda Lane dumpster footage camera, that angle.
so it is possible he witnessed Koberger staring at the windows as he drove by. Continuing, as the driver leaves, Xana turns off all the lights, sits on her bed, and scrolls on her phone as she eats her food. A few minutes later, Koberger enters the neighborhood for the last time. But this time, as he drives by the home, he sees all the lights are off. At the camera B location, he turns around to head back to the residence as shown in this video.
Okay, so this is my only.
When he returns to the front of the house, he does something unusual, so much so that it's noted in the arrest affidavit.
Okay, right here.
On page 6, it states, when the suspect vehicle 1 is in front of Kings Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. It goes on to say that he continued onto the intersection where he did a 3-point turn.
Okay, how would you be able to see that? Okay, from what camera? What camera is providing you with to say that you unsuccessfully, like, look, listen right here. When suspect vehicle 1 is in front of the King Road residence, it appeared to unsuccessfully attempt to park or turn around in the road. Do you know what they're using to do that? They're using the headlights that are shining off of the house that's in front of the 1112 King Road house. That's what they're using to try to say that that's, why even bother putting that in? Who cares? Why even say that? Think about why you have to say it. Because it would make it seem like there was another vehicle. If you don't apply that to that vehicle, and then it's a different vehicle that would have the headlights doing something like that. So you have to assign that to this. Otherwise, there's weird ass headlights, and couldn't it be from somebody like getting into their car and deciding that they're going to leave that's in an area that doesn't have a camera on it from its inception?
Continued onto the intersection where he did a 3-point turn.
So then they're saying that this is, yeah.
This 3-point turn was captured on camera A, which has a time
How do you know that's not the DoorDash driver that does this then?
stamp of 4:06. He appears to be calm and not overly anxious with his driving. As he heads back in the direction of the residence, he takes one last look at the windows to make sure all the lights are off. As he begins to drive around the end of the apartment complex, camera B records the time of 4:07. Fast forwarding a little bit, Koberger drives to the back parking lot away from other residences.
And they're saying that this is able to be because we don't see the headlights from the
He takes a few minutes looking around and sees that nobody's out and that all is quiet.
Mm-hmm.
He eventually grabs his things, gets out of the vehicle, and begins walking to the back of the home.
This is wild. Like I
At
said,
approximately 4:13 a.m., he begins to make entry. As he steps in, he takes a minute to make sure everything is quiet and that nobody is truly up. He walks to the entrance of the living room and looks around. He continues to be cautious and stands there listening. Feeling confident, he continues upstairs. As he makes his way to Maddie's room, the time is about 4:14. Meanwhile, 2 minutes later, Xana takes a break from TikTok and walks into the kitchen.
wait for this.
Evidence shows her activity on the app stopped at 4:16. As she enters the kitchen, she's a little shocked to see the sliding glass door wide open. And at the same time, she hears a serious commotion going on upstairs. Hey everyone, I don't usually
Please, I want you guys to all go like, subscribe. I think she has really, really good work. She just had to work with what she was provided.
ask, but I'm building
But
a
there's
small
a bombshell coming right here.
production company to bring you more exciting stories. And I'd love your support. If you'd like to help out and get some cool
Please do it.
perks or on the 3D model file. So I noticed. Picking up where we left off. A source revealed that Santa's phone recorded steps and elevation change, which is how it's known she went to the kitchen and the third floor. When she
Did you guys just hear that? They had Xana's phone too. They had Xana's phone. That means her health data. Okay. Her health data. So I'm going to rewind that. Listen right here.
Picking up where we left off. A source revealed that Santa's phone recorded steps and elevation change, which is how it's known she went to the kitchen and the third floor. When she walked.
Okay, now think about this. Just want to throw this out there. It could also be that she took steps because she went downstairs to actually get the DoorDash food. Okay. And then was coming up in the elevation is actually when you are coming up after you go down. How many times we do this? I'm guilty of it all the time. I order DoorDash and my DoorDash will like sit outside for like an extra 10 or 15 minutes from after it's gotten dropped off. I'm not like stalking especially if I'm doing other things. I'm like, oh shit. Oh my God, what time is it? Oh my God, my food's already here. And I'll look and then I go down there and I'll go and get it and come up. So we don't know. So just so we know, just so we understand, if she had an iPhone, it does not count. If you go down, it doesn't count a flight of stairs. That's not what that is. It only does it when you go up. So it could be that she went downstairs to get the DoorDash, and then when she came up, that's how it happened. Or if they can also show that the food was already ate, because what it should show is 2 different times doing the elevation. Okay. Because she clearly had to go downstairs to get the DoorDash in the first place, right? So you should have that. What time did there should be 2 elevations. Okay. Meaning this, if she actually got her food right when the DoorDash came just a couple minutes after 4, that's going to be your first one. Then now you're mentioning this one, and that would have been then a second one. But if there is no elevation between, let's say 3:45 and this point right here, then you'd have to say that then your logic is flawed, because where's the elevation from her going downstairs to get the food? Okay. But contrary, ready for this? This always happened to me too. Who's to say that somebody didn't get the food for Xana, right? And actually walk it upstairs and give it to her because they heard the DoorDash, which would then make it that she never had to go downstairs to then get it. So there is ways to look at it, and that's what you'd have to take into account. So I'm just curious as to why, if you have all this information, which I do believe that this girl has it, why wouldn't you talk about Xana going downstairs to get the DoorDash the first time? Because it would be a change in elevation to then come back up. It doesn't count it when it goes down. It has to wait until you come up. And guess what else it does? If it's just your phone and not your watch, it could be anywhere between 15 seconds to 50-second delay of when it would actually register on your phone. That's straight from the mouths of experts. Again, if she has an iPhone. This is all alleged. No, she has herself. I'm talking about this actual data right here. There's an elevation, and it's going to show like a flight of stairs. You elevated a flight of stairs. But my point is that unless you had one prior to that, of when she would have went and got the DoorDash at 4 or 4:03 or something like that, then you can't attribute that to only being that she went upstairs. It could be that she took steps and is walking to go downstairs to get the food and then comes back up. But now this is where she's getting it from another source. Again, remember, this is all Dateline. This is Dateline used her to create all of this in their episode that was the leak episode.
Walked up to Maddie's doorway, she interrupted Koberger, who had just finished an intense battle with Kaylee, who fought back violently. After a second or two, he notices her, and then she turns away. Being dark, Xana didn't realize what she was seeing other than a shadowy figure. Out of fear, she quickly leaves. A single source, unaffiliated with the media, claims Koberger injured Xana on the third floor hallway, leaving evidence of blood there.
Third floor hallway. So then actually what she is saying up to that point isn't accurate. She would want to like back up and say that the perpetrator got a hold of Xana prior to getting downstairs because there was blood found. Okay. In the third floor, like little, they can call that a hallway. That ain't no fucking hallway to me. That is a foyer. I don't know. That's just not a hallway.
But the
It's
single
a landing.
source of information has not been validated by any more sources. Continuing, Koberger, without thinking, pursues her all the way to her room, not realizing he had dropped the sheath of his knife. When he gets to the room, he attacks Xana, and the time is precisely 4:17:30. We know this because of camera A captured the sound of screaming and the thud. After attacking Xana, Koberger focuses his attention on Ethan and attacks him while he slept. Afterwards, Koberger must have sat down in a chair according to a report, which found blood smears on Xana's chair, perhaps from the exhaustion of what he had just done. The source also says that blood from the two roommates upstairs were found in Xana's room, showing that it was one person moving from one room to another. Koberger sitting down was for less than 30 seconds. As he gets up to leave, Dylan, hearing the commotion from Xana's room, gets up out of bed and goes to her door to look out into the hallway. She freezes and sees Koberger as he walks by and exits through the kitchen. She immediately closes and locks her door and retreats to her bed. Within 20 seconds of the encounter, she's calling and texting her roommates, but no one is responding.
Okay.
It takes Koberger a minute and a half to get to his vehicle after the encounter with Dylan.
Again, this is how I know this is a Dateline push narrative. Dylan didn't start anything. Nothing started. Dylan did not start anything. Bethany called Dylan. Bethany started it. Bethany called Dylan. Sat and took off shoes and changed. You guys, she's saying that went into the house at 4:13 and that all of this happened in literally 4 minutes and like 39 seconds.
But once in his car, he flees the scene at a high rate of speed and exits the neighborhood at 4:20. Dylan continues trying to reach someone in the house.
Why is she putting this all on
And
Dylan?
after 3 minutes of trying, Bethany wakes up and responds to the calls.
What? Do you see?
They converse for 3 minutes, and then Beth convinces...
Where is she getting that? Where is she getting this information from when she made this? That's not accurate at all. Look at. But they have these little things that pop up. Let's see what she's getting here. These little pop-ups.
Dylan continues trying to reach someone in the house.
Okay, please call me. Are you up? Da 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 da. Are you up? Please call me. Are you up? Hey, are you up? Please call me ASAP. Do you understand? Where is Dylan writing Bethany saying, please call me ASAP? We don't have those. We've never seen those. We've never seen those. That one to Bethany right there. Please call me ASAP.
And after 3 minutes of trying, Bethany wakes up and responds to the calls. They converse for 3 minutes, and then Beth convinces Dylan to come downstairs.
They converse for 3 minutes, and then like she doesn't mean like on the phone like that, just that one time, but she's talking about in totality, like the texting back and forth, the 3 minutes they conversed, and then she convinces her to come downstairs. That's not accurate either.
The time is now 4:26 a.m. Caution.
4:19, guys. Okay, they talk on the phone at 4:19. See, I just told you that's not accurate. That's 7 minutes. Not 3. 7.
Cautiously, Dylan walks into the hallway and through the living room. As she approaches the staircase, she can see into Xana's room and sees her laying on the floor.
I will say this: if she used a real model, let's see how many
6
steps would
a.m.
be taken.
Convinces
Dylan.
Dylan to come down.
Look, she's in her room. Okay, she's on her bed. What?
And after 3 minutes of trying, Bethany wakes up and responds to the calls.
Can I watch Dylan's
They
figure?
converse for 3 minutes, and then Beth convinces Dylan to come downstairs. The time is now 4:26 a.m.
4.
Cautiously,
6.
Dylan walks into the hallway and through the living room. As she approaches the staircase, she can see into Xana's room and sees her laying on the floor. She then runs quickly downstairs to Beth's room, where they lock the door and for several hours continuously try contacting the other roommates. Back to when Koberger left the neighborhood, he drove a particular route that would exit onto a road that leads straight to Washington
Now watch
State line.
this.
And about that same time that Dylan runs to Beth's room, Koberger is entering Washington State.
She's saying that he crosses at 4:27 a.m.
This is all part of Koberger's pre-planning, including finding a place to stop and get rid of any evidence.
Now watch
This
this.
place here fits that planning. This area here, pointed out by the arrow, is a little group of trees with a small area that you can park a car on.
Guess who pulls off the side of the road like this? Guess who does this shit? Guess who did this on Airport Drive or Airport Street? Guess who pulled off and was in the side like that? Fucking Molly. That's exactly what Molly did. Remember the police officer is like, where are you going? You need to pull over, honey. Molly, man. Molly. Okay. So right here, this area should have been like totally like this is right where you'd want to like search for this knife. Okay, clothes, something, right?
This is what it looks like from the road.
Mm-hmm.
At 4:30 in the morning, while changing clothes and getting cleaned up at this location, one could feel completely safe while being able to see the headlights of a car coming from miles away. As this pivots around, you can see how this is out in the middle of nowhere, and a pre-dug hole near some of these trees would hide.
Pre-dug hole. Remember, he had a shovel in his. Didn't he have a shovel in his back of his car? In his trunk or something? Was it like a little gardening shovel, or was it like a big old shovel?
Forever any evidence that Koberger was trying to get rid of. It's important to remember that Koberger was studying criminal behavior and the legal system.
Okay.
This would have motivated him to plan things to the smallest of details.
I
Like
agree.
plastic on the seats to conceal DNA, or crossing state lines because the jurisdiction of one area would take hours to get assistance from the other. He's also smart enough to know
Who else knew that? Who else knew that there would be no pursuit? There'd be no pursuit. Well, fuck that girl Janelle. Janelle knew that. Dude, I'm telling you. Brian, were you hanging out with these fucking meth heads?
that this 10-minute stop would likely never be on the radar of the authorities, especially after he crosses back into Idaho and then turns his phone back on.
How would that not be on their radar? They most certainly said that that's what they were looking for, is everything south of Taylor, okay, and west. This is exactly how they say that he left, okay? Now, how they tighten this up, now check this, because I'm all about numbers, so I love this. This is what, go check out my stuff from the rip. It's all about how far you could possibly be at certain different points, and you'd want to create like a radius around of where you're going to know, like, this is the area that you could possibly be in. And this accounts for this 10 minutes because he should have been further if he's driving on this path. He would have been a lot further when the phone. So let me press play here. This is really good.
Pick back up where we left off at his 10-minute stop.
So 10-minute stop. He says that she's like, he stops her for 10 minutes, takes off his clothes. All of his car is like, has all the plastic wrap and everything. Okay, awesome. So then what did he do? He buried the plastic wrap, he buried his clothes, and he buried the knife over in that area? Or did he put it into a different container? Like a, what do you call it? You know, what you put your Christmas stuff in, the Christmas trees? What are those big bins? What are those? Those clear ones?
He's on with his plan, knowing that he's completely cleaned up and that there's no evidence to tie him to any of the crime if he were pulled over at this point. After getting on Highway 95 and turning south, he turns his phone back on at 4:48 a.m. This
Okay,
section
so do you see that right there?
of Koberger's travels comes from his cell phone data extraction. Let's orientate ourselves onto this map and get a better understanding of the timing. Koberger leaves Kings Road residence at 4:21 a.m. Just 8 minutes later, he arrives at his stopping point where he gets rid of all the evidence. After the cleanup, he then drives back into Idaho and turns his phone back on, which occurs near a town named Blaine. This was referenced in the arrest affidavit along with the next town called Uniontown. The last place to reference is where he's seen on cameras near his apartment at 5:25 a.m.
He's not seen on camera.
Using Google tools, we can get accurate timing information. This entire route took 54 minutes. If we add the 10 minutes stopping time to that, it would be an hour and 4 minutes.
Okay, this is interesting.
Now, if you add that hour and 4 minutes to the time he left King Road, it would equal 5:25 a.m.
It does.
The same time the camera captures him on the cameras near Washington State University. The last thing to compare is this part of the route, which has a reported time of 38 minutes to drive without any stopping. Bringing back the time record and adding in the second leg information of 38 minutes, we can now add that time to when he turned his phone back on, which was at 4:48 a.m. After adding the 38 minutes to that time, it gives us 5.
But she's putting him in like this point, okay? You can't do it that way because the ping is within an area, okay? So that's one thing that's one thing that you have to gauge with is that you can make any type of loop work though. Like you're making it fit.
26 a.m., nearly the same time that was captured on the campus cameras.
And that's it. Hold on. Did she just end it? What the heck happened, girl? I was really looking forward to that.
According to court documents,
Oh.
2 times are noted
Is that the last? Does it just end like that? She didn't say bye.
without any stopping. Bringing back the time record and adding in the second leg information of 38 minutes, we can now add
Yeah. We did this all at the beginning with the probable cause affidavit, but then we come and find out that the probable cause affidavit has to be correct. So anyways, what do you guys think? What do you think about the demonstration? Again, hands down, 3D model, awesome. Way better than Bill's dollhouse. Let me get you guys the... It's A's got. It's like this. You guys were asking what channel. I wonder where she went. If you type this in, it should come up. I don't know the exact link, but there you go. I was wondering where she went. Now I was like, makes sense. Dateline gotcha. You know, the numbers work. The numbers work for it, you know. As far as like where that point is and how long it takes you to get from that point to over there, where you would see like a white sedan. A white sedan we see on TV, or a white sedan we see on the cameras, and that white sedan is in the same location as where the phone's pinging, you know. But if you look at a map, if you're coming from the park, you'd be coming like this way to come in, and it would, like, you would be ending up right there if you're coming from the park, because you'd be coming up the other side. So that's the caveat to that. Like, it's But why that would get all blown up is because you're going to show that the beginning part, you can't put his vehicle over there because you can't put his phone over there. But the Blaine thing's really interesting, right? So I would love to see what Cy Ray's expert PowerPoint would look like, right? Yeah, there you go, Tracy. Great question. Where's the dog when all of this is happening? Why are we talking about the dog barking? Okay. What about the evidence of Xana and Ethan being killed at the same time? I want to know more about that. Yeah. Anything else here? Let's see. Okay. If any of this is accurate, then why didn't Nick Balance use the handoffs to calculate between 2:30 and 3? Yes, she did. Truth and Transparency, Open Mind Perspectives stole her 3D modeling and started copyright striking. What? Yeah, Open Mind Perspective is absolute fucking lunatic. Okay. Absolute loon. She created a Truth and Transparency channel and was running around acting like me. Translucent. Translucent, we have reason to believe that you are open mind spaces faces. We have some pretty good evidence of it because we catch you when you slip up. So, I mean, who steals people's work? What a fucktard. Miss Potts. Miss Potts, I have some more questions for you. Stealing people's work is a crime, right? Ho. Dateline's like, don't worry, girl, we're gonna make it up to you. Come on, let's go steal Brian Koberger's phone. I heard she was stealing from you. Come on, we'll just be on the opposite end of this. We'll just go steal Brian's phone. We'll like make it all better. So, anyways, she was able to get Xana's steps, her flight of stairs. So I looked, and Nick Balance had the responsibility of using Xana's and Maddie's and Brian's AT&T stuff together because they all had AT&T. Crazy, right? So I want to know, okay. How'd she get her food? Anybody? What's the next questions? Let's see what Miss Potts wants to fight people on over here. Love you, Miss Potts. All right. Here's my question for you, Brian. In Google Warrant 1, it's alleged that once you arrived back in Pennsylvania, you accessed a Google account that had 2 phones connected to it. And they alleged you were accessing that Google account in an attempt to locate another device, i.e. locate single decedent. Why were authorities under the impression another phone on your account was in the possession of a single decedent and you were trying to locate that device and decedent ? Who is the single decedent with the other phone that they allege that you were attempting to locate via the Google account? So, question, my answer. You guys want the question again? It's the best question. Like this, it's from the Google warrant. It's the best question that there will ever be. Okay, and that is in Google Warrant 1. It's alleged that once you arrive back in Pennsylvania, that you accessed your Google account. Okay, and that you had 2 phones connected to that Google account, and that they alleged you were accessing that Google account for the purpose in an attempt to locate another device. So like you're using your one phone to try to locate your other phone that's attached to that Google account. Okay. And they say it like this in the warrant. They say, and they alleged you were accessing that Google account in an attempt to quote unquote locate another device, i.e., locate single decedent, end quote. Why were the authorities under the impression another phone on your account was in the possession of a single decedent? Meaning, why is the authorities, like, if you're trying to just search for this phone, why would they think that the phone that you are searching for is in the possession of somebody that's dead? Or do we have some typos? Okay. Or do we have some typos? So, who is the single decedent with the other phone that they allege you were attempting to locate via the Google account? Well, ready? You guys, before Brian Kober got this new number, this 509 number to go out to go to Washington with, okay? Before that, he had a number that he had up until June 22nd, 2022. Look at that number of people. He had a different phone and a number. I just want to know whatever happened, like, why did he switch his number? Why did he need a new phone? And I realized, like, for me, like, dude, this is gonna be a pain in the ass. All my friends, everybody, like, here, like, but then if he doesn't have any friends, who the fuck cares? Woo! So, and then the question could also be said is, was Brent Kapaka's phone attached to that Google account? I just personally think that let's find out. Anybody can answer that question though. Like, let's have the feds answer it. Let's have the state answer it. What were you guys looking for? Can you explain this Google account or this Google search warrant for us? Why is the United States government named in your warrant that's done for that's supposed to come out of MPD? Why were you so interested in Kaylee's Reddit account and nobody else's? And why were you so interested in it in November? And you hang on to the warrant, you don't serve it for 10 days. How much of this shit are you going to seal? All right, next up. Brian Culver, we got some more questions for you. Did the knife and sheath you purchased from Amazon have the USMC insignia stamp? What do you guys think? Did the knife and sheath you purchased from Amazon have the USMC insignia stamp? Was your sheath left at the crime scene? Because think about it. Where's your knife and your sheath that you purchased from Amazon? Where is it? So how about that's my question? Who knows what the hell's going on around here? Welcome back. Good golly. Good golly. I thought I had the best question. It cuts me off right there when I want to ask that question. So I'll restate it. As I'm resetting my all my settings back here. Where's Brian's sheath and knife that he purchased? Where's his knife? Where's his sheath? What do you guys think? Where is it? Oh, yes, fixed. Yes. Magby. Yay, we're back. Yes. All right. Oh my gosh, two heads. Two heads. Two heads is better than one. Remove. All right. Thank God. What's up, Bubbly Waters? How you doing in here? Two heads. Two heads. Make yourself known. Thumbs it up, thumbs it down. Do something. As I was saying, anybody, what do you guys think? Do you think Aunt Taylor was like, "Yo, bro, where's your knife and where's your sheath? We'll solve this right now." You think Brian was like, "I have no idea." When I moved out to Washington, I mean, I didn't take it with me. It's in Pennsylvania. What do you think? You're drinking bubbly today? Yeah, the fourth. Questions. We have questions. Brian, we got more questions for you. Take a little sip. It's power hour. What are you guys sipping on for the fourth? Happy fourth, everybody. Happy fourth. I got my Bourgogne. Next question. Good point there, Kate. I didn't get to see, obviously I wasn't in the courtroom, but good point. I wanted to highlight that. Where's it at? Yeah. She didn't look at Brian the whole time. Okay. The state asserts, Brian, at the plea hearing, that the state is not alleging that you went there to kill all four victims. Did you go there to kill all four? If not, who or what did you go there for? What occurred that morning that all four were killed? I don't think all. I think she was pissed too. I don't think all four were supposed to be killed either. My take on it, but I mean, who the fuck goes in a home and just I'm just gonna walk upstairs and it would make sense that that's why he didn't go downstairs. That's why he didn't go into any room on the second level until somebody came up to hear something. But that's what Ann Taylor's talking about. Like this messes with their whole narrative. If what Dylan is saying that she heard Kaylee, remember all that crap? It becomes premeditated, right? It can become premeditated for you in a matter of just like a minute, a second. Next question. Brian Kohlberger. The state alleged at the plea hearing your phone was in the area of the King Road home many times. And your counsel, Miss Taylor, asserted you've been to Moscow, yep, but never over there or at that house. If that is true, how did you end up at this house on that morning? And when did your attorneys learn about that? Clearly I was driving all over that night. Look at, how did he know that house did not like have any security? Like no alarm. I feel like Brian got his intel from meth heads. Don't know why I feel that way. Brian, now that you've pled guilty to all charges and agreed the state no longer has to prove their case because you admitted it's all true, what was your motive? What was your motivation to carry out this crime? What brought you to that home on that morning? Anybody else got questions? If you could ask Brian Kohlberger anything, you could ask his attorney anything, and they had to answer. There was no client attorney privilege. What would it be? Eagle, stars, and stripes. Cheers, $4.99, baby. Woo, woo. Thank you for your amazing coverage of this. You always make me think. Yeah, remember, like, you don't have to prove your innocence. They have to prove you guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. Trust me, I know a lot of people that take plea deals and they say that they did something that they didn't. I'm well aware. People said, why them? Why them? Why kill Ethan if he was sleeping and it wasn't planned, but not kill DM, who is up and walking and almost runs into him? Mm-hmm. Yes. There's an order out there or a motion. There's a filing out there where Ann Taylor says that Brian Kohlberger has no connection to, he named everybody in the house. He named MM, which I thought was interesting that he had a name MM Molly. Like the person that dropped off, like she lists off that there was no, you cannot connect Brian, and then she listed people off. But was in the mix of those people that were getting listed off could you link Brian to somebody like a Jordan Baker? Could you link Brian to somebody like a Brent Kapaka? Could you link Brian to somebody like at the church? Can you link Brian to any cops? Who the fuck did Brian talk to from June, July, August, September, October, November? What was he doing? Get the Barnhart down here. What is his pattern of life? What did this person do every single day while he was there? Thanks, Sherry. Is that my girl? Share, bear, moi. How about this? Ready? He went back there at 9 o'clock in the morning, y'all. There's not one camera. If the BAU was involved from the beginning, they'd have been like, hey, this person could have come back to try to like look at what they did. So, you know. Also, 1112 camera. Did you find it on all these visits, like the November 7th visit? All these times that Balance allegedly says that there's 23 times that he was there, but guess what? Cyray comes through and says the data does not show, like the data doesn't represent that. The evidence doesn't say that Brian was there 23 times. You couldn't, like, I go look at your ring. How far back can you go? You can easily go back 3 months. Since he admits it, that he did it, shouldn't we know these answers? I think we should. These are things the killer would know. What else would the killer only know? How come you wouldn't make him say something that the killer would only know for the prosecution? Why didn't you use a burner phone, Brian? Brian, how many people did you have sex with while you were at Washington? Brian, are you a virgin? Brian, what part of the state's theory is wrong? Can you like correct it? Like, nope, there's definitely no way that anybody saw me because I went into every bedroom and nobody was there. Brian, what's the thumbs up for? When did you realize that you didn't have the sheath? Okay, now let's ask ourselves questions about if you're Ann Taylor and you're in a war room with your rest of your team and you're like, okay, if we ask Nick Balance a couple questions and he's going to lie and Hitler's going to shut that down. We can still do a ton of cross on that's the timing advance. But when Cyray would come up to the stand, we'd have to wait till, it's our turn to present Cyray. Would that be a reason that like we still couldn't be successful to show that the data's all fucked up? For example, I've always wondered this. Why didn't they just write on the probable cause affidavit that, like how Ashley Jennings says, what's 7 minutes? What's 7 minutes? Like, can't cars turn around? Like, so he messed up and we put the phone went off at 2. What's 7 minutes? And here's Hitler. Yeah, exactly. Like the crime didn't happen for another, until 4. There has to be a reason though that they needed to put that in a probable cause that way. Why? Don't you think that's the most important question to ask? Why in the world wouldn't you just write that The phone was on until 2:54 and 47 seconds. How does by not putting that make it that you wouldn't have got probable cause? But there clearly has to be a reason, you guys. Don't you think Megan Marshall would have still given them the fucking, like, why was it so important that you had to say that that car that was looping and swooping and doing all that stuff, that was also the killer's car? Why couldn't it just be the car that came at 4:05? There's reasons for it. Why did you pick that house? Well, if you want to know my answer to that, seeing that Molly and her world's all in meth, and the people that dropped off the food, meth heads, and where did Brent Kapaka's name come from? And then I have Dave in the mix of it, and he said that people knew that you can, if I wanted to get something, I could get it from that house. It's almost like somebody went there to try to like get shit, buy shit, right? How much money was in Brian's account at the time? I would love to know how much money was in Brian's account at the time. I don't know. I've always heard of people going into houses and stealing stuff like drugs, and then shit going wrong because it was like you're trying to get, hey, we know they have a bunch of shit in there. Let's go in when they're fucking sleeping. Let's steal their fucking shit and and get the fuck out of there. I think what Dave says that's something that would happen. Not that there was, but that's something that would happen. That people drove around all the time. Okay, for example, guys, ready for this? The story about Brian Drake. Brian Drake. You understand that involves meth? Meth. There was a meth dealer calling Brian Drake after he was killed. But they need to have the story be that a chiropractor shot at him because he was stealing his patients, who has never gotten a parking ticket in his life and didn't even know Brian existed and didn't even know dick about anything like that. So we have to totally change the narrative here of what this is even about. But Brian Drake is killed by a chiropractor instead of Brian Drake and his fucking women that weren't his wife. Taking steroids and other drugs from dealers that do steroids and whatever else. Like, I mean, come on. So they're notorious for, hey, we can't have the narrative be the narrative. Because let's even say that Dan Moore killed Brian Drake. It wasn't over no fucking patience. It wasn't that. Give me a break. Brian Drake doesn't even have any patience. And guess what? When you look at all the patient records, there is none. There is no patience being stolen. Dan Moore does like fucking 10 times the amount of business, like 20 times the amount of business. Brian Drake didn't make shit. Brian Drake didn't make fucking dick money. Okay. So then I find out that a meth dealer literally started calling Brian's phone right after he was shot. The cops don't fucking talk to that meth dealer. And how you know he's a meth dealer? Oh, because he got picked up for meth for selling it. There's a record. So for me with this is, hey, it's just not the story. Brian, what's the story? The real story would have come out. Brian still can be the guy, but this is not the story. So does the story matter to people? I don't know. Brian Kober said, I did it. I'm going to take him at his word unless he says, I had to say I did it because blah, blah, blah. I don't think Brian Kober's a narcissist because I think that why didn't he still go forward with it then and he could have beat the case? Or there's all these reasons to appeal because Hitler wasn't giving you anything that there's probably stuff that you would have got. So you have appeals. So why would you even plead guilty? Then you got the state. Why are you offering a fucking murder? Like this is a horrible, heinous thing. This is the type that should do the death penalty. And y'all want to give him y'all want to do what? After he just let 2.5 years go by of dragging this out, running people's names through the mud, more or less, because you're letting the defense team air all of this shit out because it's all accurate. Why wouldn't you cut him the deal way earlier so that none of that would have come out? So that if you really want to protect people, why didn't you protect Dylan and fucking Bethany way before? If you think that the state cut Brian Kober that deal for the victims, you are absolutely out of your fucking mind. That's not accurate. That's a fucking lie. I don't believe in that at all. And I don't believe that Brian was on all fours begging for the plea deal. I also want to know how many times did you offer a plea deal or how many times did Brian ask for a plea deal and that you guys were both saying no to each other? No, 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 right? And then now, so let's talk about that. Has there ever been a plea deal? Has Brian ever asked for one? Have you guys ever said, hey, we're going to take the death penalty off the table? It seems like that's all you guys care about. We'll take it off the table. He pleads guilty to everything and yada, yada, yada. I mean, I was going back through these orders. I mean, Hitler's orders are ridiculous. We all see the lies. We all see it. There's 1,000 pages and exhibits, and Hitler comes back. For example, Officer Payne testified, the lead investigator testified, that he saw Brian's timing advance records. Ann Taylor then goes on the record in her motion and says, the reason that they can't have this motion limiting for the timing advance records, one of them being the lead investigator testified to seeing Brian's timing advance records. Okay. Hitler doesn't even mention that as to why he doesn't even mention that. In fact, it really pissed me off when I went back and looked at it. It was like, Okay, in the original motion for the state's motion limiting for the AT&T timing advance records, the state said that the state has been advised and will offer documentation and or testimony that AT&T records are produced by their Global Legal Demand Center. AT&T Global Legal Demand Center did not begin producing timing advance records until May 2023. And the way that Ashley Jennings write this is the state has been advised. That means she put it on Nick Balance. She actually put it on Nick Balance. And that Nick Balance was willing to lie. And that means that I personally believe that if Nick Balance did the voir dire after seeing this, rereading it again, that Nick Balance was all in for lying. And all he was going to do is answer Hippler's questions by lying. And Ann Taylor would have had to be prepared with, hey, so you've testified how many times? Oh, all these times, right? We went and got your testimony. And the things that you were saying in your blah, 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 that you wouldn't use handoffs, and it's a case-by-case basis. In fact, you testified differently in every single hearing that you've ever testified in. You've never said that it's a case-by-case basis on how you do handoffs and if you should even use them or not. And that you prefer to go with the first cell site versus the handoffs. If you, like how Alessi did it, when they did the voir dires of all, like the man Shannon, like Karen Reed's team had ammo behind, if these motherfuckers try to do this, we will fuck you up. Right? Hippler. His order memorializing oral rulings on motion and lemonies. So when you go to his ruling on the timing advance, and you compare it to Ann Taylor's comeback to her objection, Hippler doesn't even mention the fact that at the onset of this investigation, detectives with the Moscow Police Department began obtaining call detail records as part of the investigation. We then even have one of them testifying. Mr. Kober has sought the timing advance records related to his own phone and litigated the issue. During the course of litigation, the lead detective testified he had seen Mr. Kober's timing advance records. It's like, what the fuck, right? Then, so you would think that Hitler's going to be over here saying, okay, well, oh, I'm not even going to talk about it. The state moves in limine to protect the defense from making any reference to the absence of AT&T timing advance records related to the defendant's cell phone. So is Ann Taylor have a huge whiteboard up and she's just like, this is as far as we're able to go on any of this because of all of these orders. Okay. And he couldn't win on any of the orders. The state contends it never received such records from AT&T in response to its subpoenas, and therefore any statements by defendant that the records could have or should have been provided to defendant should not be allowed, as it mischaracterizes the evidence, will mislead the jury, waste time, and cause undue delay. How does Hippler know that? How does he know that? I'm saying take Brian Kober out of the fucking equation. Let's treat this as it was like the Karen Reed case, and you get an order like this from Bev. Bev wasn't making orders like this. She was having these people come in and they got to be void-eared. What the fuck's going on here? Mainstream media, I blame you. I mean, how can Hitler make a ruling on something like, I would be asking him, so you know this for sure? How do you know this? How can you say this when the lead investigator testified to seeing Brian's timing advance? In support, the state provides COAs of AT&T for each of the 2 warrants, stating that it did not provide timing advance records for phone number 509-592-8458 because such records were at that time only available if requested within 7 days of the specified time frame. Well, what are you talking about, Hitler? Because let's really be logical here. If I'm asking for timing advance records in a search warrant that I write up on December 23rd, and if it only allows me to, even if I do it through the other way, which is this personal relationship, and if it only allows you to be 7 days out from the time that you're asking for the search warrant, then wouldn't Brian have at least the timing advance records of his from December 23rd, and then you would minus 7 days from there? Because you could like go back 7 days. So wouldn't there be timing advance records of Brian's from December, I don't know, 18th? However many days it would be, 17, what was it, 23rd? So what, the 16th? Wouldn't there be timing advance records then from 7 days from the time that they were asking for them? That's even if that's accurate, okay? That's even if you're going to go off of that 7 days crap, okay? And so, but why are we guessing here? Why are we guessing? Why wouldn't Hitler hear from Cyre? And the question is, do you think that that's fair? Is this a fair proceeding? Is this a fair proceeding? And that's where I think Brian falls into this whole thing, where it's like, Brian, do you even care about your rights and that your rights were validated? Because like, do you even care about that? But I can hardly believe that you'd be a criminal justice major or a criminology major or be involved in anything to do with our criminal justice system, right? And you not, it's like that wasn't one of the avenues he cared about, prevailing in this case. If it meant that it could possibly come out that, like, is it like a credit thing? Is it like, I'm not going to lose credit. I'm not going to lose street cred here. And for me, that's what's in my mind right now, because this is a no-brainer that you would take this to fucking trial. Absolutely no brainer, because there's so many avenues for this boy to appeal. I mean, ridiculous avenues. And especially if you did it, if you're guilty, right? Why wouldn't you? Dan Taylor found a tip that was it really interested her to the point of that she was so surprised to see it. We should all want to know what that was. The only reason you take plea deals from who I've ever talked to is if they're going to drag in family. you take to protect family. But fuck all that. I care about fair proceeding. You know, if you have to violate our rights to fucking obtain what you did here, dude, I think the word perverted justice comes to mind. This is how innocent people get fucked when you fuck our rights up. Defendant relying largely on the affidavit of its expert. No, it's not actually relying largely on the affidavit of the expert. I would think what's more important is that your own lead investigator testified that he saw Brian Koberger's timing advance records, you fucking bald bastard. That has way more motherfucking weight to me. That, what are you going to say? Oh, he didn't know what he's talking about because he's not, he's an idiot. But so relying largely on the affidavit of its expert, Cyray is adamant that the state did receive the documents, which he argues are exculpatory, and is hiding them. Well, how can Cyray even argue that they're exculpatory if he didn't know what they were going to, like, what would be in them? What Cyray is saying in his affidavit is that every single word was the same. And why would Nick Balance think that he could get timing advance records why would that language be in there? And then since the language is in there, then you're going to get timing advance records for at least 7 days back of that day because you asked for them. And maybe that needed to be like clear, like in the affidavit, that at the very least then, Your Honor. But remember, they came with this whole 7-day thing. That it was after he wrote that affidavit when they tried to hide behind that. And it's like, yeah, that's the GDLC fucking bullshit, but that's not how it goes with that personal relationship with, that's not how they got him. That's not how they got the fucking, how about that you were trying to tell the judge that you obtained timing advance records in this case through GLDC in the first place, that's not even accurate? How about that? How about that just on its face? How about that? Let's say that this happened in the Karen Reed case. Okay. That what we witnessed in the courtroom, it happened in the Karen Reed case. Do you understand that this type of a ruling in the Karen Reed case would have prohibited what Aleshi ended up using with what's his name? That'd be like saying that you can't use the Google search. The 227 Google search. Is that you can't use it. That'll confuse the jury. You're not able to use it. Wait, what? What do you mean? What do you mean? You guys, they're calling out the judge. I disagree with that. I mean, it's how come Hippler is not mentioning the fact that Payne testified to seeing Brian Koberger's timing advance records? Instead, he just skips on over it and he just says that the defendant, relying largely on the affidavit of its expert, Cyray, is adamant that the state did not receive that the state did receive the documents, which he argues are exculpatory, and is hiding them. Defendant points out he has a constitutional right to challenge evidence against him and therefore must be allowed to explore the state's misrepresentation as to the availability of the records. The other thing that brings up is the logic of all of this. If this was a fluid investigation, okay, that means when you came across people, you weren't attempting to get anybody else's phone records after and past the 3,800 that you just wanted that were on the cell tower within the period of the 2 hours. You didn't come across anybody because if the BAUs, if their profile is that, listen, the person who committed this crime, their phone is not going to be in the 3 to 5 time frame. This person didn't go there with the phone on them. Think about that. That's what Steve Gonsalves was told by the FBI, is that you'd want to look for people that aren't in that time frame from 3 to 5, but that in prior days or days leading up to it that they were. So it would be like you're going to reverse it how you would actually go about it if somebody was casing the joint. And then, like how they said, then on the day that you are going to go pull the job off, right, that you didn't bring your phone with you. But that doesn't make any sense because the timing advance only that they got was for the 2 hours. Where were these other dumps done? I want to see proof that they had other dumps from like other days, right? And then the question would be is how then it gets really contradictory here, which is if you didn't use timing advanced records for anything that you did with Brian Kober, then how did you plot anything? If you like, how did you go about this? How did you go about so you could say that this happened 23 times or 12 times or whatever? That doesn't make any sense to me. So that's where he just ends with, he doesn't even mention in his oral, or I'm sorry, in his order that Payne testified a certain way. In fact, Hippler says the homicides occurred on November 13th, 2022. Defendant first became a person of interest on December 19th, 2022. The 2 AT&T warrants were issued on December 23rd. Thus, timing advance records for defendant that could have been of any relevance had long been discarded by AT&T and no longer exists. How can he actually write that in an order without fully knowing that? Isn't that wild? Wouldn't I have to hear from Nick Balance? And wouldn't I have to hear from fucking AT and motherfucking T? How does, dude, just because you're a judge, like, where are you getting this information from? Because I want to know. Like I said, fuck this case right now. For me, I'm all about learning. And I have a judge sitting here telling me that this is what's up, but he has done nothing to put it in front of himself by having the AT&T people in here. They have Cyray in here, have Nick Balance in here, and let's all fucking have a party. I got a lot of questions here. This is my courtroom. I want to know what the fuck's going on. I got you accusing Ashley Jennings of basically prosecutorial misconduct to the utmost, which would get this whole fucker tossed, right? Then my next question is why even put that all in an affidavit? Why not blindside them? Let the motion in limine go through. Act like you're not even going to fucking fight it, right? But wait till you get to trial and blast them with, we have impeachment material. You can always revisit a motion in limine. So why play your hand then? That's what you call trial strategy. And it's like, did all of these things actually align, right? All these orders that were being denied all align, and the state knew in the back of their mind, dude, they have all this impeachment material that they're going to be coming with at trial. So yeah, now we want to entertain a plea deal. Just because you have a motion in limine that is granted, it does not mean that it cannot be revisited. Sorry, but and then you would have all of this stuff would be outside the presence of the jury. But I want to know how Hitler came to his conclusions when you don't have the material to come to any conclusion. I would need to say, hey, this is my fucking rodeo. So Boyd Jackson, how are ya? Welcome to my fucking courtroom. What's up? Did Nick balance here? What'd he do? He hit you up? When did he hit you up? What'd you give him? Okay. Did he hit you up? Did he want Brian Kohlberger's? What'd you give him? No, sir, I don't have anything. Or, yeah, I provided him with everything. You did? What about right now? What if I want to get Brian Kohlberger's records right now? All the way back in November. What's up? What can you do for me? Isn't that what you'd have to do? To know what the hell? Because I think that Hitler should be president of AT&T. DB, what's up, baby? Cheers. Happy 4th, motherfucker. How'd he get Lori Vallow's timing advance records? I heard there was a lot of sucking and fucking going on in that case. Like, I heard that Lori Vallow's PI was banging around, man. That's what I heard. What's up, baby? Why didn't Ann Taylor? I was screaming it over here from the rooftops. I was showing you guys how that was possible. I always love the role playing. Does Idaho have a funny accent? Do the voices? I don't know if Idaho has funny accent. No, they sound good. They're just not smart. No offense. I love you guys. You guys know who you are. But they admit themselves. They're not the smartest bunch. You would think that Hitler, though, is the president of AT&T. like, I was just like, wait a second. The homicides occurred on November 13th. Defendant first became a person of interest on December 19th. Again, Ann Taylor said, yeah, if you believe their narrative. The 2 AT&T warrants were issued on December 23rd. Thus, the timing advance records for defendant that could have been of any relevance had long been discarded by AT&T and no longer exists. I just don't know how you can say that without talking to AT&T, without bringing in AT&T. So, let me see what other questions I have. There are just some real winners over here. All this fun shit. Okay. AT&T timing advance records in the state's possession. During this investigation, law enforcement obtained the following AT&T timing advance data. 2 of the victims had AT&T phones. Law enforcement obtained AT&T timing data on both of their phones. Law enforcement developed an early lead, and that person had an AT&T phone. Law enforcement obtained that person's timing advance data. C. Law enforcement also requested a tower dump consisting of AT&T timing advance data. This request involved AT&T providing all of the connections between two specific cell sites in Moscow during a 2-hour period. The data produced was AT&T timing advance data. In all, there were over 3,800 AT&T mobile phones identified in the timing advance tower dump data. The AT&T timing advance data was obtained by the FBI using an internal source at AT&T, Mr. Boyd Jackson, who is not associated with the GLDC working group. How does Hippler miss that? This is, like, it says AT&T timing advance records in the state's possession. This is this case. This is not a different case. This is this case. In this case. GLDC was not used to obtain this data. So Ashley Jennings, putting in her state's motion limine, the original one, comes now to the state of Idaho, by and through the county, prosecuting office, says, hey, the state brings this motion based on defense counsel's repeated references to the alleged existence of AT&T timing advance records related to the defendant's cell phone. And if you go back and you'll see defendant's exhibit, which is a supplement response to the expert witnesses. That means Ray's expert witnesses. These are his exhibits here. And she's talking about Bates pages. And she goes on to say that the state has been advised. So where is the advisement coming from? Nick Balance. That means that Nick Balance lied to Ashley Jennings. Or Ashley Jennings is lying that she was advised this and is just saying that she was. One or the other. But I'm going to believe that. So the state has been advised and will offer documentation and or testimony that AT&T records are produced by their Global Legal Demand Center. AT&T Global Legal Demand Center did not begin producing timing advance until May 2023. But actually, you're missing the point, because we know that you have timing advance records for everybody else. And Nick Balance told you to use special language, and you did when you wrote up the search warrant, and then he turned it into the FBI. And wouldn't you have to ask Nick Balance, hey, did you use GLDC to obtain any? What'd you do? So she's making it seem like AT&T Global Legal Demand Center did not begin producing timing advance records until May of 2023. All records for defendant's phone were obtained from GLDC in December of 2022. Yeah, why? Why wouldn't you use the same process that you used with what you've been doing since day one in this case, which is your special relationship with Boyd Jackson through fucking Nick Balance, like you've been doing? Ashley Jennings was advised to write it this way. The state intends to supplement this motion with additional information from the FBI and or AT&T prior to the hearing on this motion on April 9th, 2025. Any statements or inferences by defense counsel or their witnesses that there is additional evidence that could have been provided or was not provided is a mischaracterization of the evidence and should not be allowed. This was for the whole reason for the motion limine. Well, the day that this was stamped was February 24th, 2025. And I only have one question, which is, Ray, do you have Brian Kober's timing advance records? Were you able to obtain them from Boyd Jackson because of your special relationship? But she wrote this on February 24th, okay? And then that's when everything exploded, which was, this is a flat out fucking lie. And so Ann Taylor asks Ray, well, can you do an affidavit, or what's going on here? So Ray, according to his affidavit, says that the AT&T timing advance data was obtained by the FBI using an internal source at AT&T, Mr. Boyd Jackson, who is not associated with the GLDC working group. GLDC was not used to obtain this data. Do you understand? He's putting that in black and white. He is saying it was not used. GLDC was not used. The personal relationship. A forensic examination of the AT&T timing advance records in the state's possession show Mr. Jackson's association with the reports. A forensic examination. That means his name is on what was pumped basically when they were ever writing up these search warrants from the beginning when this case happened. Nick Balance on 11/15/2022 provided language for Mowry and Ashley Jennings to put into the search warrants. And then they then provided the search warrants back to Nick Balance. And then he personally served them to the FBI. He didn't serve them to GLDC. He served them to his personal contact, Boyd Jackson. And then Boyd Jackson gave him the returns on everything. And what happened here in this case with now Brian Kohlberger stuff, once he's person of interest, we have his name, the method that they employed was the same. Mowry puts the language on it. Ashley Jennings, they put the language on it. They make up the search warrant on the 23rd of December, and it's given to Nick Balance to serve to AT&T. There is work product in the state's possession created by the FBI, is what Syra is saying, showing that AT&T timing advanced data was not only obtained, but regularly referenced and used in the course of this investigation. Its existence is well known to the investigators and prosecutors. Then he goes on to blow up the chain of custody of, we don't give a fuck about your certificates over here, Ashley. And he's like, chain of custody issues. I mean, how can a judge read any of this and their first reaction is to say, hey, go fuck yourself? Aren't you, as a defendant, supposed to be considered innocent until proven guilty? Yes. Thank you, Chris. This was a brazen act of misconduct by the law system abusing the power of law and order. Correct. And now it is so fucking egregious. It is so fucking obvious. Okay. But here's a judge that buried it all, right? Buried it all. And you don't think that you want to try to appeal this to a higher court? And if you have to do all of this, why? Why couldn't you guys just put on your stupid probable cause affidavit that it, would you really have not have gotten that search warrant? Chain of custody. The state has provided certificate of authenticity to defense in relation to the timing advance records described above. The COA was created in April of 2024 and issued by the director of CLDC, Stephen Gordon. I have previously worked with, and I am familiar with Mr. Gordon. The COA specifically says I am qualified to authenticate the records attached here too, because I am familiar with how the records were created, managed, stored, and retrieved, because I am familiar with how it happened. I have personal knowledge. Do you understand when someone says they have personal knowledge? I have personal knowledge. This isn't hearsay. I have personal knowledge. I have personal knowledge that in the event Mr. Gordon was required to testify as Ashley Jennings would need him, he would clarify that prior to May of 2023, neither he nor the AT&T GLDC working group was involved with AT&T timing advance records. Additionally, there is forensic evidence contained within the records that indicate They were not produced by AT&T GLDC, nor were they produced in the year 2024. In reviewing this data, I contacted and communicated with Mr. Gordon to clarify the chain of custody related to these records. Mr. Gordon and an AT&T legal representative informed me that Mr. Gordon would not be the individual to certify these records if requested to do so, despite issuing the COA. If you're a judge, wouldn't you be like, what the fuck? Okay, well, then who would be? You think that he's lying to you? Or you just don't care, Hippler? I don't care about the fucking case. I care about the fucking law. I care about the care. This is miscarriage of... So we get Ashley Jennings, and they can just do whatever they want. Judge, he clearly was like, I'm going to go ahead and take this on somewhere else. And then Judge is like, well, I'm looking at this, and I don't give a fuck. Well, what if this was my case right now? What if a judge did this in my case that I'm in, and I'm like, wait, what? He doesn't... We're showing that they completely are lying. But why do they need to lie? In reviewing this data, in my review, so this is now in his review, in my review of this information, there is evidence to suggest the chain of custody involving these records and the certificate were produced well outside of AT&T's normal practice. There is missing information and data associated with this request. The prosecution's prior claims that AT&T timing advance data did not exist in 2022 further complicates this issue. It is my expert opinion that any testimony proffered on behalf of the FBI or AT&T on this matter would clearly reveal these issues. Then it goes on to say evidence in direct contradiction to the state's motion. In my review of this investigation, I had read numerous emails sent and received by law enforcement pertaining to their investigation. One such email dated 11/15/2022 was sent to Prosecutor Ashley Jennings at her Latah County government email address. This email is from Moscow Detective Lawrence Mowry. The email is informing Miss Jennings of Detective Mowry's recent contact with the FBI Special Agent Nick Balance. 11/15/2022. Nick Balance informed Detective Mowry that AT&T can provide timing advance data and to make sure it listed it in the search warrant. Detective Mowry is specifically asking Prosecutor Jennings to make sure the AT&T timing data is listed in the warrant prior to the report ever being distributed by the working group known as GLDC. That's his way of saying, we don't give a fuck what GLDC is saying about no goddamn 7 fucking days. Because this isn't have anything to do with that. This was obtained a different way, and you need to understand that how that operates. And how many days are associated with it. Miss Jennings did respond to Detective Mowry's email inquiring on the specific verbiage needed to obtain AT&T timing advance. This email is abundantly clear evidence that Miss Jennings was not only aware of the existence of timing advance in 2022, but also shows her intention to obtain it through legal process from AT&T other than GLDC. This is why Cy is coming on here for an interview. We're fucking gonna get to the bottom of all of this. That gag order is up on was it July 23rd, 2025? That's what I thought. I got a lot of fucking questions. We ain't going away. Like I said, I don't give a fuck. Brian Kohler, you want to plead? Go ahead. You want to fucking live in prison? You do whatever you want. I want to make sure that we as Americans don't get fucked. I want to know about this. I want to know if he's allowed to say what he had. I want to know everything about it, and we're going to fucking get it. Ray goes on to say that this email communication with prosecutor Ashley Jennings is the same prosecutor Ashley Jennings who filed this current and contradictory motion stating AT&T did not produce timing advance records in 2022. How do you read that? How do you read that as a judge and say, That's why a judge is supposed to be a judge, I'm not an arm of the prosecution. There is clear and convincing evidence that not only was the FBI able to obtain AT&T timing advance records in 2022, but they did so with the knowledge of the prosecutors involved in this case. Missing AT&T timing advance. In my review of this investigation, based on my training and experience, it is incredibly unusual that the defendant's AT&T timing advance records were not obtained by the FBI. Okay. And what Ashley Jennings then comes back and says is that it's because of 7 days. Ashley Jennings, you didn't even fucking talk about the 7 days. You didn't even talk about the 7 days. Why wouldn't that have been your original thing to say? So I wanted to go back to see how her original motion exactly stated it. The state has been advised and will offer documentation and or testimony that AT&T records are produced by their Global Legal Demand Center. AT&T GLDC did not begin producing timing advance records until May of 2023. All records for defendant's phone were obtained from GLDC in December of 2022. Well, why would you do that? Why would you go through GLDC, okay, in December of 2022 versus the special relationship that you used with Nick Balance to Boyd, right? That makes no sense, right? Ding. The state intends to supplement this motion with additional information from the FBI and or AT&T prior to the hearing. Any statements or inferences by defense counsel or their witnesses that there is additional evidence that could have been provided or was not provided is a mischaracterization of the evidence and should not be allowed. Ready for this? Here's your aha moment. Well, Ashley, what it sounds like you guys did is that you obtained Brian's timing advance that the FBI obtained it and didn't go through y'all, okay? And that they absolutely had Brian's timing advance, all right? Because they did it their way and got one federally. And after what they knew and were able to see through the timing advance, it was like, here, no, you guys are going to ask for it in December. When you guys are going to ask for it, we're going to go through legal, we're going to go through GLDC. Do you guys see? Do you guys see how that would work? And then here comes the state contends it never received such records from AT&T in response to its subpoenas, and therefore any statements by defendant that the records could have or should have been provided to defendant should not be allowed, as it's a mischaracterization of the evidence. It will mislead the jury, and it will waste time and cause undue delay. In support of that position, the state provides the certificate of authentication from AT&T for each of the 2 warrants, stating that it did not provide timing advance records for phone number 509-592-8458 because such records were, at the time, only available if requested within 7 days of the specified time frame. He doesn't even use the term Global Legal Demand Center in his order. You want to talk about a pussy? Hitler's a puss. I've learned so much from this whole case on how to like word motions and shit. Like literally, I've learned so much from this case. To tailor the way that you write something, even though you know something else, but you can write it a certain way where it would just mislead. But I didn't. Oh, what do you mean I wasn't misleading? I was crafting a very crafty motion. Defendant relying largely on the affidavit of its expert, Cy-Ray. Cy-Ray is adamant that the state did not receive the document, or is adamant that the state did receive the documents, which he argues are exculpatory. Wouldn't one have to ask themselves, how does Cy-Ray know that they'd be exculpatory? That's just where my brain goes, is how would Cy-Ray know that they're exculpatory? I'd call him and I'm like, do you have them? Were you able to get them from Boyd Jackson? How do you know that they're exculpatory if you've never seen them? And probably Cy-Ray's over there thinking like, that's exactly what was supposed to happen. He was supposed to call me and he was supposed to ask me exactly what you're asking me right now. But instead, he didn't. Why? At least Bev is like, bring in fucking Dr. Wolf. Bring in fucking the Crash Daddies. You know? And he doesn't even say the next thing, which is what he should say there. And Hitler just leaves out is it's and the defense states that Officer Payne, Detective Payne, lead investigator, testified to seeing them. How does Hitler leave that out? Hitler says, applying these principles here about this case law, the defendant will be allowed to void our special agent balance outside the presence of the jury to ask whether he received defendant's timing advance records covering the early morning hours of November 13th, 2022, and the months prior, when defendant was believed to have been in the area of 1122 King Road. However, if agent balance denies having received the timing advance records, defendant may not explore the matter further, either in voir dire or before the jury. Given the absolute lack of any factual basis supporting his position that the state is hiding them. What are you talking about? Payne's testimony under oath is fucking proof that they exist. What is this man speaking of? Hitler's too concerned that people are calling his fucking secretary right now and leaving messages while he's fucking out fishing and wearing fish hats. There is no factual basis that these even exist. Hitler, what are you talking about? Payne testified that they exist. Payne said under oath he saw fucking Brian Kober's timing advance records, you dumb fuck. Oh, fuck. However, if Agent Balance, so he's like just telling Agent Balance what he has to do. Hey, buddy, just come in here and say that you don't fucking have them, and I'm just gonna tell Ann Taylor to move it right along. So I'm giving you a pass here. Lie. And I'm over here thinking, well, what if they have the material to impeach that lie by saying, okay, well, so if Boyd Jackson, okay, Your Honor, we call Boyd Jackson to the stand during our voir dire, and he's over here saying, yeah, this is everything I gave fucking Nick Balance. Here you go. Then what happens? Well, it doesn't matter. People out there say it doesn't matter because the case is over. And I'm over here saying, you guys, I don't give a fuck about the case. I care about this order, and that if this was you or me or our parents or our kids, this is how Hitler would do it. This order is going to stay with Hitler forever. However, Agent Balance denies having received those time advance records, damn it, the defendant may not explore the matter further. You understand me, Miss Taylor? Given the absolute lack of any factual basis supporting his position that the state is hiding them. Maybe Ann Taylor's position. Objection to the state's motion limiting AT&T time advance records. Page 6, last paragraph. Okay, second to last paragraph. Mr. Kohlberger points that relying on the GLDC stating that they did not provide timing advance reports in 2022 misses the issue at hand completely. Throughout the discovery process, Ann Taylor keeps writing in all her requests, right? Throughout the discovery process, the state has provided different explanations about timing advance report availability, but always claiming it was not in their possession. The state obtained search warrants in December of 2022 where the state sought AT&T timing advance report for Mr. Kohlberger from November of 2022. The search warrant for Mr. Kohlberger's phone data contains identical verbiage as was used requesting timing advance reports in warrants issued for other AT&T phones in November of 2022. And so I just can't help think that Brian Kohlberger was the only person from December 1st until December 23rd where the police were interested in obtaining anybody's timing advance records. Everybody else they received them in November, right around the time of the crime. Let's just say even within 7 days. But you're going to sit here and tell me that they weren't interested in obtaining anybody else's phone records that they would have talked to or interviewed after and outside the 7 days? Think about that. Think about it. That's like when you want to apply like deduction, reasoning, logic. I immediately thought to myself, I'm like, wait a second. So nobody between after the 7-day period did they come across and interview somebody and they say to themselves, "Oh, you're with AT&T? Okay. What's your phone number? Okay. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and put a search warrant in for your timing advance records." Oh my God, no, you were outside the 7 days. Don't you fucking dare. What are you thinking? How do any cold cases get solved? Do you guys understand this doesn't make sense? The state obtained search warrants in December of 2022, where the state sought AT&T time reports for Mr. Kober from November of 2022. The search warrant for Mr. Kober's phone data contains identical verbiage as was used requesting timing advance reports in warrants issued for other AT&T phones in November of 2022. The same process of serving the warrant was also followed. Moscow Police Department obtained the warrant, provided it to Nick Balance, who then provided it to AT&T. The exact same process which resulted in timing advance reports being produced in November was repeated in December. The second AT&T warrant contained a documented title, AT&T Mobility Carrier Request from instructing AT&T to provide timing advance records for the past 7 days as available. See that language? 7 days as available. For the past 7 days as available. So the point here is that it should produce some type of timing advance records, even if it would just be 7 days from the 23rd. And this was the objection to the state's motion limine timing advance records exhibit 3 AT&T mobility carrier request form. Like it says it right here. And so Cyray's like, I find it hard to believe that they would not provide you with even just that timing advance of the 7 days from the 23rd. Now, in the final paragraph, which I think is the most important, Mr. Kober has sought the timing advance records related to his own phone and litigated the issue. He didn't receive any of this information about his personal phone until July of 2024, mind you. During the course of litigation, the lead detective testified he had seen Mr. Kober's timing advance records. Mr. Kober has documents produced with search warrants that instruct AT&T to provide timing advance data. Discovery documents contain emails about including the request in search warrants because it was available. Mr. Kober provides those documents as exhibits. Mr. Kober has a right to confront evidence in the case against him. His constitutional protections mean he must be afforded a full and fair opportunity to cross-examine the state's witnesses. AT&T timing reports are available. The state has produced reports that were prepared before GLDC produced them for law enforcement. Timing advance reports relating to him exist, yet the state has not produced them. The state now seeks to limit his cross-examination and their lack of disclosure by hiding behind half-truths. Mr. Kober must be allowed to explore the state's withholding of the evidence. No wonder why I wouldn't go to fucking trial either. I mean, fuck. Hipper would have saw, I don't know, somebody doing it on camera and he's like, you don't have a white Elantra. They're not the killer. It's just ridiculous. It's just, it doesn't have anything to do about Brian. This is just orders and how a judge can just literally like, fuck. Remember, don't go and buy the athlete to fix the game. Go and buy the referee. That's how you get the fix. And this is evidence of that. Doesn't mean he's fucking innocent. Okay? It just means, like, This isn't justice. This isn't our justice system. I mean, it's in black and white. Joy, $10, truth and transparency. Thank you so much, Joy. So yeah, my only question to Brian Culver is, where is the knife that you purchased and where's the sheath? Okay. I'd be fucking doing cartwheels to try to find that shit. Like, where is it, you know? And and guess what? The way that you clean that car of yours, Brian, according to Bill Thompson, I don't know why you just didn't keep that knife, son. Because there wouldn't have been anything on that. The way that you can just detail cars. Come to Brian's detail. I mean, just absolutely ridiculous that Bill Thompson even is talking about a bucket next to a fucking car. Like, I asked Scott Roeder, and I'm going to go with him. He's the expert. He said, Lana, you either have the blood in there, you either have the DNA in there, you either have the trace evidence in there, or you have the sign of a cleanup with like chemical products, you know, the material to clean the car. If you're scrubbing and bleaching your, what do you think the carpet's going to look like? What are you using to clean your car? You think Brian Culver didn't have some garage, you guys, that he was able to come home after the killings, put his car in the garage, and then work on it from November 14th until his daddy came to pick him up. You know, his car is sitting right out there in the open. So in order for him to clean his car, he would have to go to a car wash or a detail place, right? And there's not too many places around there. So you'd be jumping on it immediately, right? Because immediately, if you thought that the killer used that car and you got the cameras, and that would be the first thing that you're going and doing. And hey, let's go and get all the cameras in the area of any of these places that you would clean your car, such as, you know, Moo-Moo's and all these fucking places, all these self-serve places, anything that has a camera or car wash and vacuums, and you should have a ton of that shit, right? But Brian Culver didn't have a house in like a garage type setting. He would have to have gone out in the middle of nowhere, right? Taken his little chemicals with him, put his little earbuds in, and just started cleaning away. Or, according to Bill Thompson, he just left everything the way that it was until he got back to Pennsylvania and started scrubbing her up in Pennsylvania. Okay. Dude, they dismantled the car. I don't believe that his car was used. Even if he's the killer, right? I don't think that he used that car. If he was getting high again, fuck, man. He's rolling around with Molly and fucking Janelle and Brent and all these little tweakers. How about Molly saying, I got to testify against Brian? I rolled up right next to Brian. Wow. God, Molly has such bad luck. Think about her. Fucking do not go anywhere near Molly. That's like Final Destination waiting to happen. Molly is she witnesses her husband get shot up on the block. Then she gets pulled over like 5 times a day. Then she witnesses the fucking Idaho4 killer. I mean, talk about Molly, man. Horrible luck. Do not hang out with Molly. I'm telling you, for like 7 years. You guys like that? It's like Final Destination. She's just bad news, man. Girl can't catch a break. I want to know if Molly's DNA was on the bag that produced. Here's the bag. Here's the food. I left it out. You know, here's the picture I didn't take. The case was weak. I think, though, that just because it's weak again doesn't mean that he's not the killer. It's just weak. And one would have to ask themselves, how much does Brian care about his reputation? If he wants to be studied by Ramsley or Ramslin, or, you know, he wants to be this solo killer, it can't come out that he was doing this shit with meth tweakers. That's not how serial killers roll. Poor Molly. And then I'm sorry, but I am so pissed at Bill Thompson. You son of a bitch. You let these girls, fucking Dylan, and because it's like circumstantial, you know, it's circumstantial. It's circumstantial to say like that, look with their phones that they're texting and that this and that they're, oh, she called her mom and dad, blah, blah, blah. Dude, it looks bad though, right? It looks horrible. It looks horrible. But guess what? They didn't do anything, right? They didn't do it, but it looks bad. But think about how that could be for anybody in any type of situation. That's why you can't just go off of that shit. That's why you just can't go off of Amazon 10, 11 months before that. But why the... I hope that Dylan and Bethany give impact statements, and I would say, fuck you, Brian. You're going to stand up right now, and you're going to tell everybody that we don't even know you. Okay? People think that we'd be friends with you. People think that we helped you. I wouldn't spit on you if you were on fire, motherfucker. And then I would look at Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings, and I would look at the police, and I would say, and fuck all you motherfuckers, too. I told you, Payne. They didn't remember shit. I told you, Mowry. I told you that I didn't fucking remember shit, that we were drinking all day. And why would you put any of this shit in a probable cause affidavit? Go get your own fucking probable cause. Leave us the fuck out of it. We told you we didn't know shit. You fucking drag us into this shit. No, fuck the police. They drug them into this. I'm telling you, if you go back and you look at how all of this played out, she's over here saying, I don't know, he looked like he was a firefighter. I don't know, he looked like he had a vacuum. I don't fucking know. I don't know. Okay? And for as quickly as y'all are saying it happened, you guys, it was not like people were raging out or it was screaming or it was, and we heard noise and then it was over. And yeah, you know what I'm fucking guilty of is, yeah, I did walk up there and I did see them. And that's when I was in my frozen shock state, was after I walked up. And then I was fucking freaking out. You're goddamn right. They were all blue though, okay? Fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I would just tell all these people to go fuck themselves. I'm sorry, but I think Dylan and Bethany should rage. Like, if you're going to give the man a plea deal to save your own asses, why didn't you do it 2.5 years ago? You don't give a shit about victims. All you guys cared about is that you have to protect all the violating of our rights. That's the only reason this plea deal happened, why the state was like all all about it. And then for them to think that they're going to get up there and hide behind and say that we're doing this for the victims, bullshit. You're doing this for yourselves. And you know what? It's so fucking typical Idahoan of you. Because Idaho's nothing but a bunch of coward pussies. Just like Brian, right? Y'all want to call Brian a coward? Fuck, Bill Thompson's a coward. You lied to murdered victims' families. That's insane. And fucking Hitler over here wants to cry about the fact that Steve put out his email and his phone number. Wah, wah, wah. Hitler. Stupid. Absolutely stupid. We would have never been in this situation if you guys didn't fuck it up so bad in the beginning. That's what I would be saying. I hope Steve goes there and tells these people off. You know, you promised us that we were going to get our answers. We're not going to get shit now. You lied. And now for the rest of our lives, what? We can have channels in the internet spewing all this type of shit. I'm going to tell you what, it ain't going to be fucking happening here. And so the moment that Brian Kober wants to grab a fucking microphone or say whatever he wants to say, you need to be a Dan Moore, and you need to recant if you want me to even consider. I only want to look in this case for the mere fact of what Idaho truly did to violate our rights, because they did violate our rights. And I care about Brent getting shot up on the block for no fucking reason. Nobody wanted to help that boy. Bill Thompson. Go fucking strum your guitar, play your drum. So shitty. Marshall, loose cannon, had to mislead her to get case to next step and have time to develop their BS narrative. Also without 100 allocation. Yeah, it's stupid. Many accept it. Yeah. It's horrible. It's horrible. Dr. Latina, I didn't even see this. Absurd. This is speculation. We need truth. I love you, Dr. I didn't even see these. Dr. Latina. Happy 4th, baby girl. 10 people turned green due to Dr. Latina. I was in and out of. Sherry D, super sticker. Hi, girl. Hey, girl. Hey, 4th. Sherry, 19. That's my favorite number. Love you all. We love you back, Sherry. Sherry with an E. Sherry with an A. I got nothing but Sherry. Remember for 10 months, Kimberlyn. Did anyone else see uncanny resemblances of FBF and SC Green? Yeah, where's Coomer Scott Green right now? Is he going to show up for sentencing? Is he a victim? Rob, thank you so much, Lana. Big fan. Thanks for your hard work. Have you looked into the recent killings of the 2 Coeur d'Alene firefighters? Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they were anything about until I see it with my own eyes right now. Without them having anything to do and why they were lured. I think whoever shot them and did that to first responders is absolute pig. Fuck them. Sick fucks. Firefighters. Like, are you kidding me? You do that to firefighters? Firefighters. I mean, how coward? I mean, firefighters? How could you ever have a ill will against a firefighter? When has a firefighter ever fucked you over, man? When has a firefighter ever fucked somebody over? I'm just curious. Firefighter. Why would you ever shoot and lure firefighters? Tanya. Woo woo. 5 people turning Alien. William, hi. No DNA in car. Stayed in minutes. I know. Dude. Bill Thompson's storytelling time is just not proof. That would never be proof beyond a reasonable doubt ever. Ever. Think about that, guys. Think about what he said. That is not proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And we're still over here wondering, how are you going to tell the jury that you ever started looking into Brian Koberger? And why you went all the way to Pennsylvania to get his trash, and then we got his father's, but his father's didn't match anything. Yeah, then we just did paternity tests. Weird. Do you think he would have been better off not waiving his right to speak trial? I think he would have been better off never going for a 6-month preliminary hearing. I mean, what are you thinking? That's absolutely that. I think that's ineffective assistance of counsel. You would never do that. There's not a lawyer out there that would tell you to do that. And the interesting thing is that Anne did, and I would love to know the reason. And maybe it's because Brian lied to her. Brian's over here saying, I was set up. I was set up. I don't even know these people. You know what I mean? Versus, and like when Anne's looking at this discovery and she's like, what the hell? What is this? Like, how did you even think to go and look at this kid and compare any type of DNA? Like, what are you comparing it to? The sheath. Well, why would you ever think that this kid, though, would even be a possibility? So just imagine the beginning when Anne's like, what the fuck? And so they're hiding their whole case. And then you got Brian saying, I'm fed up. I'm fed up. And so because of that, Ann Taylor did what she did. Well, here, that should have never happened. Filed plea doc signed June. I know everybody's talking about that. And that was it legal? And you guys, to me, okay, Brian Koberger doesn't care about his rights or ours. And that was not his fight and his pursuit. That was Mathis's. That was Ann Taylor's. And it seems like his path of pursuit is different. Because you would fight. You would fight. Even if you were guilty, you would fight because it's a weak case. How do you know someone is a firefighter? They'll tell you in the first 5 minutes of meeting them. That is so true. My cousin's a firefighter, and I feel like everybody knows he's a firefighter. Oh, that's funny. That made me laugh. That's so fucking true. I want to know how much. I want to know if any of the lawyers were taking drugs to keep stone cold faces, because the media's like paying attention to. And Anne's like, "Listen, guys, don't move. Look straight. Don't move." They could borrow head down, though, shake with the sheath. If Brian has ADHD, how does he stay still so well? What kind of meds is he on? The ADHD community wants to know. What are you guys doing today? It's 4th of July. Let's go party, man. It's time to leave. Gotta go. See you guys later. Everybody gotta go head out to their cookouts. I gotta go. My cook-off is starting. Happy 4th of July. Don't blink. Don't breathe. We're going to have cameras all over us. You know that News Nation's going to be on us. You know that Ashley Banfield's going to be so excited to call Brian a murderer. All right. What about our questions? What questions? I've been highlighting them. Question. Did anyone notice the lower cases titles of state and defendant on the notification of hearing for the plea? What? Oh my God. What the fuck? You guys need to go get drunk, okay? Anybody notice they're not in caps? No, he also has ADHD. Murky. In the recent filings, the new doc said that he had 3 things: OCD, ADHD, and the spectrum, autistic spectrum. I've always wondered, when you have all of these things going on, how do your meds not like clash each other, like cancel each other out? You know what I mean? Ghost horrors. Lana, you were my first true crime channel. How did I make you want to stay around the streets? It's hard, girl. Yeah. May the 4th be with you and also with you. Let's see what else. Hold on. MSM YouTube. I have more. Hold on. You guys, this on the back end with this StreamYard, it's totally shit to try to catch these. I don't know what's going on with this thing. MSM is YouTube. Wait, did I already get this one? No initials by it, not illegal doc. Brian's mom against death penalty. He's close to her. In my opinion, he took plea out of concern for her. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious if she asked him to, though. Like, I think that's pretty selfish. Like, I don't know. Indy Cindy. Unmarked cop car, had sunroof, near scene of crime. Member for 8 months. Thank you for being a member here. MSM YouTube. Okay, this is the one I was at. Cheers. Why can AJ lie on papers out of her mouth and not even Hitler calls her out, but he's aggressively calling out Ann Taylor and Cyree? Exactly. Does that sound like a fair playing field? Why are you calling out anybody anyways? Why aren't you just bringing in the shit? And like, it's like, they say this, they say that, right? You bring everybody together and y'all duke it out in the courtroom. No. Hitler is the president of AT&T. He knows. Okay? Super sticker Natalie, thank you so much. Canada? Are you in Canada? Happy Canada Day the other day. Crystal Amber says, who cleaned bloody footprint? And why do we not see BK car at all? I think that goes to the weight, not the admissibility. I think that goes to everything that anybody's saying here, is that, you know, why do you have to use the dash cam and body cam of Duke if Brian Kober is just so prevalent in Moscow and just woo all the time over there? I'm just shocked that you wouldn't be able to find him on his car on any cameras coming in there at late at night from 10. You guys understand that there's hardly going to be any cars leaving Moscow between the hours of 2, 3, and 4 o'clock in the morning on those 23 different times. So it's just, I would think that, so you're saying that Brian Kober, we can't get him coming in or going out in a vehicle. We don't even have him getting gas ever in Moscow. You know, William Tardy, 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Rob, Idaho firefighters murder. Do we know if any of them were listed as witnesses? Happened one day before plea. I think Idaho is notorious for shitty ass luck due to they cover shit all the time. You know, people in Idaho are so afraid of the government there. Like they don't trust the police. They stay away from everybody. Like, hey, it's like this. You stay over there, I stay over here. Everybody does their own thing. Like nobody's all about like. You get blacklisted in that town. Murky. The death penalty shouldn't be used as a bargaining chip, and it was in this case. It's what it looks like to me. Ghost horse. Hell yeah, I stay because you're the best. Oh, I appreciate that. That's so kind. Fuck yeah. All right. Thank you. You know what? Do you think that Molly is a victim? Can Molly come and give a speech too? Who's going to give speeches for the victim impact? You know, I'm a victim of this fucking bullshit. Everybody on this channel is a victim. All of Idaho, the university, when like they were being lied to and saying that don't worry, you can just be here sleeping. You know, the killer, he didn't. You know, this was a targeted, isolated attack. No, it wasn't. This was not. I'm telling you, like I think that any of those people anybody in that area could have died that night if Brian Kober is the guy. He didn't pick these people out for any type of reason. I love being a victim, says DB. Count me in. Let's all think about it over the weekend. And if I'm going to write up if I was Dylan or Bethany so that they can feel free to lay into everybody that's fucking wronged them. But I think that they need to understand why they were wronged. And it's because of the state. It's because of the police. They put them in a horrible situation. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah, go get it, girl. Lana, should I hurry and request the pullover body cam? So if they unseal it, you have it first. I think we have stuff like that in. I'm telling you, Ann Taylor was doing hella discovery requests for somebody that's figuring out an exit strategy. You know, people that are saying that Ann Taylor was behind the scenes working the plea deal, you know, this whole time, or at least a significant portion here towards the end. And go look and see what Ann Taylor was. They had to have all their exhibits in. The defense has their exhibits done. The prosecution has their exhibits done. Everything's done except for if you're preparing for your questions. Your subpoenas are out. Like, I've been thinking of good questions to ask, you know, if anybody from Brian's team should ever talk. You can't ask questions that would be client attorney privilege. So how could you word questions where Ann Taylor would even feel that she could answer it? Do not send your daughters to U of I or your sons. Yeah. As long as it's not client attorney privilege. So like it would be like I was trying to think of some good ones where something can be revealed. Like, all right, Anne, how many times did you watch Truth and Transparency? Is this your first time? And were you planning on using Dave as a witness? Was he on the witness list? And what was the stipulated to what is it? Oh, how Brian Kober was found out because IGG. When did you realize that the state used IGG? And where the fuck has Jay been? Where's my Jay bird? B. Williams says, I feel like I've watched a 2.5-year long movie. Right when the boom is about to hit, the internet goes out. Yeah, or the main character fucking dies, in a tragic accident. And then you're like, fuck, where's going to be the sequel now? And they got to like put like a substitute in. Hey, Ann Taylor, were there any tips that you went through that had the name Jail R? Did anybody report that Jail R was involved in this crime? And so, do you have to have security round the clock? When did you have to employ like? What do you think about Ashley Banfield telling the world that you fucked over Xana's mom and that you were her power of attorney? What do you think about that? Did that give you a good chuckle? Did you drink like a glass of wine about it? Ann Taylor, how'd you find Cyree? Ann Taylor, why did you have no problem with the house being destroyed? Did you feel like it was more of like if they destroyed it, like they're idiots because you want to use it, like they should be using it in their case, and you're over here like, well, fuck, you guys are the ones that have to prove this shit. You didn't know that, DB? Yeah. What would you do differently? What about the preliminary hearing? Let's talk about that. Would you have, like, I mean, it's always hindsight's 2020. Knowing what you know now, you would definitely went with a preliminary hearing within 10 days. Do you feel like that Ashley Jennings is a good lawyer? Even if the gag gets lifted, there's only so many things that you can ask Ann Taylor that can't come between client attorney privilege. How often would you see Brian Koberger? Would you see him like once a week? Would you just be on the little tablets together? Did you seek out Bill Thompson for a plea deal? Or did you always know that Bill would give you one because he's a fucking coward? What does it mean to be death penalty certified, Miss Taylor? Like, what's the difference? Like, what would make you a death penalty, public defender? Like, what extra do you have to do to become death penalty certified? Does it mean that you won't gamble with people's lives? So if Bill Thompson did offer you a plea deal, you would have no choice but to like really push for that because that's like the oath you take. I'm just really curious about that. Like, what makes you death penalty qualified? Because I will not gamble with your life. The Dateline leak. If Hitler would have taken the death penalty off the table for them to even have in their arsenal, is there any reason to then have a plea deal? Like, would this wouldn't have went to a plea deal because what he basically said he was guilty to is the max on everything, and you might as well just roll the dice at trial, right? I think that if you ask that question, you would know a lot of in terms of if something they didn't want something to come out in terms of Brian. Now, in the mitigating phase of all of this, what if Brian didn't want you to use something that would like, I don't want you to use that. Like, let's say that they find me guilty. I don't want that coming out because I just don't want that used. Like, does he have a say in that? Like, what if he was like touched by an uncle when he was like 7? And his sisters were too, and that would all come out, and I don't want that to come out. But I don't want you to use that. So do you have to use whatever without his say, or what if he's saying that he doesn't want that used? How does that work? These are all my type of questions that I want to ask. 10,000 jurors were summoned. Like, how do you even summons 10,000 and expect to do what Hitler was doing? You don't even need to do that many because you can't even get through that type with his type of format. So is Hitler just a complete fucking like? I mean, does he have any logical and reasoning skills? Does he operate on the logical level? Like, why would you even summon 10,000 people when the type of voir dire that you're planning on having wouldn't even allow you to get through, 1/1000th of it? Like, I mean, what the fuck? So stupid. All right, that's all good. Go rock your fourth. We'll talk to you guys on the flip side. Hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down on your way out. Peace. Thank you, moderators.